I know the dangers
Right.
of showing up to a job site that was burned down, and it's not the smartest thing to do. If you told me, do we need fire sprinklers in a house? I would honestly say no. Nothing about the Palisades is going to change. The reasons why people loved to be there will remain the same.
This is Jason, the owner of Shelter Homes LA and JJP Construction, a boutique architectural and interior design firm and general construction company. They focus on mainly new construction and real estate development projects, and today he's going to tell us his story of how he worked on 40 homes in the Pacific Palisades before the fires and how now just about all of them have been destroyed. How long have you been in the real estate industry?
So I've been doing construction for about 15 years. Started in about 2010, right after the crash. I grew up here, but I went to Israel for 1 year, came back to LA. So that was like 2009 when everything was kind of happening.
Right.
So when I came back, the real estate was primed. It was like ready.
It's a good time to get in.
It was a great time to get in. So my first 10 years were just like a complete rocket. My first few years I was working in construction. Then I got poached by a developer to come work for them. And then eventually I ended up partnering with that developer. We grew a company called Shelter Homes LA, which ended up doing probably just under about 200 homes throughout LA. We went out on our own. I ended up keeping Shelter. I ended up doing roughly about 50 more projects beyond that. Wow. Just in the Palisades alone, we have about 40 projects, just in the alphabet streets.
Just in the alphabet streets,
you have
40 projects
going on
there alone.
And I only have 4 houses remaining.
And so, I mean, I know you said you haven't been to that area since you haven't been able to get in, which is also insane that they barely started letting the residents into the Palisades. But I mean, I've seen drone footage and video of the alphabet streets now, how it's completely wiped out.
I've seen almost every single one of my lots. You know, every single client that we've ever had has reached out, sent videos, sent pictures. I had people that I know personally go out there. I got a drone shot of one of my houses. Like literally, it's like one house is existing and everything else is just completely gone. It's crazy, and like people think like, you know, there's a house that's going viral right now for like still standing throughout the fire, and there's probably reasons why that house did.
I saw
exist.
that one. It's with the A-frame by
A-frame.
Chasen.
This is the home, and the architect just walked up. His name is Greg Chasen.
You know, it's going viral for standing, which is great. There was way more than just the building science that survived that house, because if there's plenty of other houses that have survived, it's a sheer, you know, it's probably mathematical equations to some extent, but it's also luck. Like it just happens to be like, you know, there was a house on Hartzell right behind it that survived. There's a house on Charm Acres that I built that survived. But right behind that on Monument, the houses I built there are gone.
Right. So of all of the homes that you do have in the Palisades combined, how many do you think survived? What percentage?
Yeah, I know that 4.5 houses survived.
Wow.
And by half, I mean like an ADU.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Could you have ever imagined something like this remotely taking place?
I'm going to tell you exactly what happened on Tuesday. Can I tell you?
Walk us through your entire
Tuesday
day.
Story?
I want to hear your entire experience of that day.
I wasn't in the Palisades that day, but I got a bunch of calls because everyone knows I'm there.
Right.
So around like 10:30, I'm getting calls, hey, if you're in the Palisades, you should start leaving right now. I'm like, what happened? There's a fire up in the Highlands. It looks really bad. I mean, like literally I was getting pictures of the smoke being like, you know, up in the air, just a little tiny pencil drawing. And then 10 minutes later, it's a black cloud. Crazy. So I'm telling my guys who are there, who are working, hey, get out of there. They're not worried about it. They don't rush out till after lunch. They're like, we'll eat lunch, then we'll go. I'm like, what's going on over there? I start heading over there and traffic is crazy. I pull back. One of my project managers pulls back, and basically we're getting calls throughout the day, and I'm like, it's fine. We went through the 2019 fire.
Right.
Not a single problem. I wasn't even stressed or worried when the fires were going on. When the Malibu fire happened, there wasn't even a thought in my mind. And that one was bad.
Right, yeah, really bad.
That one was bad. And I was like, it's not gonna touch the Palisades. I just inherently believed that it was going to be resolved. It was such an easy thing to resolve, but unfortunately, Like literally that night, I'm getting pictures from people who are leaving their house at that moment going, there was a fireball right in the middle of the street, on Iliff, by the way.
Unbelievable.
So on the street that house survived on, I'm literally seeing a picture of barreling down that street with a fireball right in the center.
Right.
So I'm seeing this thing going, I can't believe this.
That it made it all the way down there. We would never expect that, especially seeing fires in LA all the time.
Already knowing. One of my project managers had gone there at like 5 or 6 in the morning, was able to get a car through, and just started driving by and taking random video footage. It's crazy.
Were you able to get any sleep that night?
I slept just fine.
Okay.
Because I wasn't thinking, I'm like, there's no way that this is gonna get worse. And then when I woke up, like I was literally talking to him, my project manager that night going, there's no way it's that bad. There's no way it's that bad. It had to be out. They had to have taken care of it. This is all crazy.
Especially in the alphabet streets are where a lot of the homes that you work on are, because you saw where the fire was initially. You would have thought that the whole town would have had to get taken out in order for those streets to get taken out.
It's a massive difference. I mean, it doesn't look like that on a map, but when you're looking at it, it's a hard distance to go.
Right.
And I just didn't even think for a second that it would be that. But yeah, it's hard. It's hard.
I'm sure.
Look, listen, there's people that have it much worse. Like there's people, I was speaking to someone who bought a house on Hartselle. They closed like 2-3 days before the fire for like $5-point-something million.
No, I know a lot of residents that have lost completely everything, you know, in the fires. And so that's great that you have that mindset, that you are still grateful and fortunate to have what you do have and aren't like fully accounting for, you know, there's a lot of people in this
I say
situation.
I lost 2 houses. Everyone else lost a home. That's like the reality of it. These people lost actual things that they're connected to. What I lost is the actual building of memories, you know, like what it takes for us to go through and build those houses. And we yelled at this guy when we were building it, and we decided to build this unique design. We did this, we did that, we changed this, we changed that. This was fun, this was hard, this was difficult. We have those memories.
And that's what I think a lot of people that just watch what's going on in LA and Malibu and the Palisades don't understand, that it's not just the structure or the home, it's truly the loss of proof of life, the loss of the memories, the loss of the things that are irreplaceable. What are some challenges that you think that we're going to face moving forward from all of this? And how do you think we can also prevent this from happening in the future? What are your thoughts and plans?
Well, the rebuild effort is really, really interesting. You know, if you really think about fires in general in LA, we've gone through a few of them.
Several.
Right? So it's not actually new for us to figure out how to go about this. But this is the biggest scale that we've ever encountered. So even when you're talking about, you know, billion-dollar projects that the government has to go through, this is like, I think I saw like top 4 biggest disaster.
Right. I mean, I saw this was going to be a $250 billion
potentially,
loss.
Which is crazy. You know, and like, if you think about it, like a $500 million project is insane. So this is like just that much more crazy. This is definitely a massive scale. Do we know what we need to do? Yes. Right. And we've already kind of put all those seeds in place, right? We have, you know, first thing is get your plans back into plan check, get those plans through so we can actually execute a build, right? Then we have the EPA who's going to go through and build who's going to go ahead and clean up the toxic waste.
How long do you think that will take alone?
Their initial estimate was 3 to 6 months. They did not come out and give us any clear verbiage on that. So this is only made up from what Karen Bass had initially stated. And that's all I have.
Right, because I mean, after seeing all the interviews with her and Trump as well, where Trump said that there were people that want to just, this guy right here wants to just move it himself. Can he do that tonight? And she was like, sure, but in reality, I don't think that's going to be the case.
The reality is like I was telling you before, why I haven't gone, right? I know the dangers of showing up to a job site that was burned down, and it's not the smartest thing to do. Like, yes, you could be smart about doing that, and you can go in carefully and prepared, but it's not the smartest thing to just like go right into a burning building.
Yeah.
So we know what happens, and the clearest example is 2001, right? September 11th.
Right.
We know. Look at a lot of these firefighters today. They've gone through a lot of stuff that would literally happen to any single one of us if we walked into a house like that, whether it was on fire or not.
Right. They're suffering long-term effects. Long-term
effects. It is very dangerous. It's not a joke. So we do need to clean it up appropriately. The big question is the timeline. Now, from what I'm being told, FEMA has contracted the Army of Engineers to go ahead and do the cleanup. They're going to hire out many, many subcontractors to perform that task for them, okay? With that process, no idea how long it's gonna take.
Okay.
They don't even know how long it's gonna take. They basically quoted 2 to 10 days per house or per runway. I wasn't quite sure. So we really don't know exactly how long it'll take. But the good news is that they did say, you wanna go do it? Go do it.
Right.
You have the ability to. Once the EPA is done cleaning up their toxic trash, we're allowed to go in, hire proper companies who are hazmat approved to go through and actually do hazardous cleanup. They can go through, they can do the cleanup, and we don't have to wait for the city. So on a grand ideal level, let's say it takes them 3 months to do the cleanup, we can come in there in 10 days, clean it up, and get our houses back up to building, let's say in 4 to 5 months.
Okay, that would be
that's an ideal.
Hopeful that you're
that's
hopeful that
very
that
hopeful
happens.
Yeah.
Okay.
But at least like that's a door that's open, whereas before, if I couldn't get back in there for 2 years, that's crushing.
Can't even imagine how long that the process really will take, and there's going to be so much construction going on in that area once you guys are able to build. It is going to be
Have you spent time
crazy.
in Alphabet Streets?
I've spent a lot of time in the Alphabet Streets. Yeah, I know every home is so close to each other, and they're all very unique.
Streets are really narrow.
Streets are
Can you
so you have to
imagine?
drive around each other. After talking to a lot of people that have lived there and knowing residents that are there, obviously, how many people do you think are going to stay or are going to go somewhere else? Maybe in LA, maybe that's out of state, because who's going to want to raise their 5-year-old kid that is currently 5, and then they have to hear that construction going on, also remind them of what happened in that neighborhood for who knows how many years.
Yeah, I think my statistics are a little skewed. Like I don't feel like they're a genuine full pool of the Palisadian people, because the people that I'm speaking to are people that want to get back there. You know, they're calling me so I can help them with the architecture. They're calling me to like get the designs done. They're calling me to, you know, plan to build for them. So I'm getting those calls to put them back in their home. I'm not getting the calls of, hey, I don't plan to not come back.
Yeah,
you know?
which is good. That's a good sign.
It is a good sign. I would say of like the 20, 30 people that I've spoken to, a large majority of them do at least want to move the idea forward that they're coming back.
Okay.
Regardless of the fact that they know, listen, if things take too long, they're not going to come back.
Definitely. I mean, I like to hear that for myself growing up in the San Fernando Valley and knowing about the Pacific Palisades. It was always the place that you would want to be, the dream. It's like in LA, outside of LA, you know, there was only a couple streets to get into the village area. You know, you're not just passing by it as a tourist. So it truly is like the all-American dream town in the higher end as well, which is crazy. So it's just so devastating to see. What do you think the future of the Palisades is? Because I can't even imagine how it could get back to what it was.
I joke that it'll look like you know the show Weeds?
Yeah, I've heard of Weeds, never seen it, but I've heard of it.
Like there's the intro is like, little houses on the hillside, and it's all the same house with the same people driving up to the same cars. I literally just imagine that it's going to be a lot of the same exact house.
Little boxes on the hillside, little boxes made of ticky-tacky, little boxes on the hillside.
Because people are just going to want to like production build this. And just like, if you look at how many houses I built over the last, call it 11 to 12 years that I've been there, one of our goals was make each house unique, make each house different. We were not a cookie cutter builder. We wanted to really make each one stand on its own. You know, if you showed me a picture of one house, I wanted to be able to say that's Iliff, that's Hartzell, that's Galloway, that's this one, that's this
Each
one.
has its own unique style.
You know, even if it was similar siding, I wanted to do something different on each home to make it unique. But when you're doing 20 homes at a time, it can get exhausting to be like, okay, how do I readjust this? How do I redo this? So to kind of put it into production faster, you know, siding guy, do this for these 3 houses, do that for those 3 houses.
Makes sense.
And move things forward. So it may look very systematic, but I really don't know, you know, like if not everyone's going at one time and there's systematic approach to how the streets are built up. If you have 10 houses per block, let's say, I think it's more than that, but if you have 10 houses per block and houses 1, 5, and 10 are allowed to build now, and then 2, 7, and 8 are allowed to build, you know, that might change things, right? Where it's going to slow down how crazy things get.
It's a good idea.
It's also, you know, might be better for materials and production of that side, because, you know, everyone's calling me, let's buy the lumber now, let's buy the lumber now. I'm like, you know, where are you going to put it?
That's what I'm
how
saying.
How are you gonna set?
I mean,
things
what are
up?
the challenges with all that? Because the cost of the materials are going to go up, and
they say it's illegal to surge price, right? You're not allowed
exactly
to
kind of like all the
surge
price
pricing.
gouging situation that's going on as
thank
well.
you. So, but that's basically what's going to happen regardless. Because if you only have a certain amount of laborers and subcontractors and vendors to provide for these services, at the end of the day, even if I'm only building 10 houses, 20 houses, whatever, there's 100 other people that want to build their house at the same exact moment, and it's just the market, right?
Yeah,
the
supply and
market
demand
nature
is still going to have to take effect.
Exactly, and there's no way to even kill that unless they're suppressing the demand, right, to allow for the supply to stay consistent.
Makes sense. That's crazy.
I don't know how it's going to go.
That's
though.
unfortunate.
I don't work for the government. I can't.
Right.
Say.
With all of the projects that you're going into, like say in the Palisades, or even like this one, we're here in the San Fernando Valley in Sherman Oaks. Is there anything that you are changing or that you've now learned from what's just happened that you're going to take into these new projects as well, whether that's more fire-resistant materials or anything at all?
So we talked about that passive house, right? The passive house that survived. Personally, I believe that it didn't do much to allow the house to remain standing.
Sure.
But I'm sure there's a lot of factors that did play into the fact that it was standing. One of the things that I do see that build did was they created a full envelope on the house. There was no breathability for the house in terms of ambers going into the home and then creating a circulation, right? So maybe creating full envelopes, fully sealing the house, and then like doing more of that design aesthetic to allow for that to be.
Because a lot of the fires were started in the attic, right? There was something that
I don't know actually. I do know that like vegetation was a big issue.
Right.
So the type of vegetation that new construction puts on their properties, such as ficus maybe, might be one of them. That's a big one. I don't know, but that's what I've heard.
Gotcha.
Is that like that was a big issue? Because I've had houses where I built them 10 years ago, and the ficus are as tall as these trees here, and they're not trimming them down. They're not keeping them clean. They're not.
No maintenance is being done.
no maintenance is being done. So yeah, it's going to get there, and it's going to get into the roof, and it's going to, the windows might have been fire rated, but if they were not protected or whatever, wind can still get into them. Do I know what I would do to prevent it better? Yes, but at the end of the day, I think it comes down to what the city's going to impose on you.
Right. It's going to be a
like
big thing.
if you told me, do we need fire sprinklers in a house? I would honestly say no. The amount of times that it's been more beneficial than not is hard to say.
Yeah.
Like it's probably caused more damage than good because they go off, they cause a massive leak, now you got to repair everything when it was just a small little fire that went off in the kitchen.
Yeah.
That could have gone out, right? But the city requires it, so we put them in.
Makes sense, yeah. I mean, shoot, this is just such a devastating time. I can't even believe that this has actually happened and you being directly affected. It's so unfortunate. When do you think people will be able to actually live in the communities again? Because I just hope that it can get back to what it was.
I believe that the second the schools are back in there, the second that the groceries are back in there, the second that like it can somewhat still feel like home, even though it may not be beautiful and clean yet, I think people are going to rush back. They want, like a lot of people want the reason they live there is because of the schools. The reason they live there is because of the privacy.
And the community of the Palisades.
The community. Like, this is what like everyone thinks, oh, the Palisades is devastated. I'm like, nothing about the Palisades is going to change. The reasons why people loved to be there will remain the same from yesterday to tomorrow. Like the reason you want to be in the Palisades is not because it's got a nice house there that you can buy. It has so many other beneficial reasons for being in the Palisades that it doesn't really matter. That yes, it matters that the fire happened and it's devastating. Trust me, I feel it with my full heart how bad it is. But I do believe that 5-10 years from now, it's going to be right back to where it was January 4th or 5th.
That's incredible to be that hopeful that it will get. And I truly believe it too. I mean, there's really nothing you can even compare the Palisades to. I was trying to think about it, especially in LA, maybe somewhere in Orange County potentially, but nothing really at all. So just to have that completely wiped out is unfortunate.
So the only thing that I think may change about the Palisades is if you can think back to, the Alphabet Streets, as lovely as they are, they're kind of tiny.
Yeah.
Right? The houses are
small, streets are small.
It might be 4,000 square feet, but it's specifically designed 4,000 square feet to maximize square footage, maximize bedrooms, maximize bathrooms, right? You get a 30 by 50 backyard. It's not like a sprawling house,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah, they're all built kind of tall with the staircase, nice curb appeal.
Right, and you're talking about a $5 to $6 million home.
Right.
And that's what you're getting. You're like, if you did that in the Valley, you're maybe going to get 2.5, 3 million, right? So there is this massive discrepancy of what you're getting in the Palisades versus what you can get somewhere else. So I think that one of the things that I'm seeing is a lot of the people that do live there are going, hey, my neighbors needed to be torn down. Maybe I can buy the house behind me. Maybe I can buy the house next to me. And they might want to build substantial homes there and then put in an actual backyard, a real pool or a guest house or cabana, where when we're doing a house like this, this is sprawling. Like, even though we're on hillside, we got caissons in the background. This is going to be a 5,000 square foot home. It's going to have a massive pool, big kitchen backyard. It's got a hillside going down where
it's got some views.
It's got views of the valley. This is an amazing home.
Yeah.
And for the same exact price, you'll get a 3,500 square foot home in Palisades. So they want more luxury if they can get more luxury.
Yeah.
So I do see potentially that being a big change. I once built a house. I once built 2 houses on one lot in the Palisades on Galloway.
Okay.
And it was like the best lot in the Palisades at the time. Like, everyone wanted that lot because it was a double wide lot.
Right.
And everyone was like, oh, I'm just gonna, I want to get it. It was a massive bidding war. I don't remember how many years ago it was, but we ended up getting it and building 2 houses on the lot and selling those 2 houses. But I see potentially the reverse of that.
That makes
where
sense.
We're gonna actually have less homes, bigger lots, and bigger.
Do you think
houses.
that's good or bad for the neighborhood? What's your opinion on that? Because obviously we want it to be the way it was, but a lot of these homes and lots are going to lose character because they were built so many decades ago. But if one person is buying up multiple lots or expanding,
if I can speak frankly, maybe don't put this on the record. Don't. If there was a video camera here, I wouldn't want to know.
Yeah, there's
about
no
it,
camera
There's
here anyway. Yeah.
No, I think that it's beneficial for the people who can do it. Like, if you're capable of doing it, I would 1,000% do it, because you get all the benefits of being in the Palisades, all the benefits of being close to the village, and you get one amazing home.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Because the problem with the Alphabet Streets is that it's not always the forever home for people. You have to go to the Huntingtons, you have to go to the Riviera, you have to go, to the Bluffs,
right,
to get a more
larger
substantial situation where people can feel more like they can be their longevity. Not that the Alphabet Streets didn't offer long-term homes, but if I'm being honest, a majority of the people that I've sold to have been there forever.
Yeah.
Only a few houses have ever really changed hands often. But I do believe, if you have the ability, 1,000% do it.
Right. So that's great for the people that still have the money, that are able to do so and continue to build.
It's going to be tough for a lot of people. There's just no doubt. When you're buying at that price and insurance is only covering so much, even the mortgage alone could kill somebody.
They're still paying the mortgage on the lots in their home that has been burnt down completely.
It's like, okay, you get 3 months. That doesn't help anybody.
Unbelievable.
It won't help.
This has been very motivational and inspiring, and I love the mindset that you have going forward as well. Although it's super devastating, I like that you are looking forward into that it can get back to what it was, which is very inspirational. Is there anything else that you want to tell the viewers or touch on?
Well, what you're saying is actually the most important thing. I am not a psychologist, so I can't state this with exact truth. But the bottom line is if something bad happens to you and you focus on the bad of what you're going through, you're gonna constantly be ruminating around with that. You're gonna be like, my house burned down, my house burned down, my house burned down.
It's the law of attraction.
It's just what it is, right? So if you can focus on the next thing, if you can focus on what's coming soon, if you can focus on what's in front of you, that's going to be 1,000% the best way to move forward with this, regardless of the things that are hard that you're going to be coming up against. For example, 2 mortgages that are over $3 million. That's a heavy load for somebody to take on. I can sit there and think about and stress about how I'm going to deal with that, but if I can focus on what's my next step? How do I deal with that through my process? I may not be so devastated by that because I'll be focusing on what the good things are in front of me.
Exactly.
So
I love that. All right, Jason. Well, this has been great. It's great meeting you. Where can they find you?
You can find me on YouTube at youtube.com/JasonPie. Instagram is JJP Construction. And I'm sure I'm everywhere else, but it might be more crazy than that. That's where the good stuff is.
Love that. Really inspiring. We'll have to come back here once this is built up a little bit more
You'll
as well.
have to.
Check it out. Yeah, be great. Thank you, Jason.